What would you do if the father you just buried left behind a secret powerful enough to tear your family apart? Four siblings return home for a funeral, but beneath an old oak tree lies a truth no one was ready to uncover. And now they have 30 days to face it, together. Before we begin, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and become part of our growing YouTube family. Don't forget to like this video, and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, and what time it is in your city. Now, let's get into the story. The first thing Daniel Carter notices when he steps out of his rental car is the smell, wet soil, pine, and the faint sweetness of hay. It's the same smell from childhood, the kind that used to cling to his clothes when he'd run barefoot through the fields. He hates that it still feels familiar, because familiar means it can hurt him again. The farmhouse in rural Georgia looks smaller than he remembers, like the years shrank it down while he was gone. The paint is peeling near the porch steps. The old wind chime still hangs by the front door, gently tapping in the breeze like it's trying to say welcome without using words. Daniel grips his suitcase handle too hard, as if strength in his hand will keep his emotions from spilling out. Inside, the house is quiet in a heavy way. Not peaceful, heavy, like grief has furniture. Like sadness has been sitting at the kitchen table for months, waiting for someone to finally come home and admit it's real. Sarah is there first, standing by the sink with red eyes and a tired face that Daniel barely recognizes. She looks older than 26, not in years, just in responsibility. Her hair is tied back without care, and her hands are dry like someone who scrubs too much, cleans too much, tries too hard to keep things from falling apart. "You came?" she says, flat, like she's surprised he actually did. Daniel wants to say something gentle, something brotherly, but it sticks in his throat. Instead, he nods. "I had to." Sarah looks at him like she wants to scream and hug him at the same time. She does neither. "You didn't have to. You chose to." That's the first cut, and it's small, but it lands deep. A few hours later, Emily arrives in a black coat that looks too expensive for this muddy driveway. She steps out like she's walking into a courtroom, not a childhood home. Her face is composed, but her eyes flicker when she sees the porch. She pauses for half a second, as if she's bracing for a memory she doesn't want. Then Lucas shows up last, late, as usual, wearing a wrinkled shirt and an exhausted expression that doesn't match the excuse he gives. He avoids Daniel's eyes and gives Sarah a quick, awkward hug. When he hugs Emily, she stiffens like they're strangers, four siblings under one roof again. And still, it feels like there's an ocean between them. The funeral the next day is simple. Their father, Thomas Carter, was not a man who liked attention. The church is small, mostly filled with neighbors who talk in soft voices and offer casseroles. Daniel stands beside the coffin and tries to feel something clean, something like love without bitterness, but his chest is tight. He remembers their father's hands. Big, rough, never gentle for long. He remembers the silences more than the words. After the burial, Attorney Margaret Hill asks them to come to the farmhouse for the reading of the will. They sit in the living room, where the couch still has the same faded pattern. Sarah sits closest to the lawyer. Of course she does. She stayed. She carried the weight. Daniel can feel resentment rising even before anything is said. Margaret opens a folder, calm and measured. "Your father left clear instructions," she begins, "but I want you to hear them together." She reads the basics first: small savings, a truck to be sold, personal items distributed. Then she reaches the part that changes the air in the room. "The farm," she says, "all 200 acres, the house, and the equipment, will be inherited by only one of you." Daniel leans forward instantly. Emily's jaw tightens. Lucas blinks like he misheard. Sarah goes still. Margaret pauses, then continues. "Not because your father loved one of you more, because he believed only one of you would fight to keep it alive." Sarah's voice comes out sharp. "Who?" Margaret lifts her eyes from the paper. The farm goes to Sarah. Silence hits like a slap. Daniel feels heat behind his eyes. Emily's expression cracks for the first time. Lucas whispers, "What?" Sarah looks like she can't breathe. She doesn't look happy. She looks trapped. Daniel stands up so fast the chair legs scrape the floor. "That's insane," he says. "I'm the oldest. I worked that land too." Emily's voice is controlled but cold. "She's been here, yes, but that doesn't mean she gets everything." Lucas finally looks up and his voice shakes. "So we just get nothing?" Margaret raises a hand. "There's a condition." They all freeze. Margaret reads it slowly. Sarah inherits the farm only if all four siblings live together in the farmhouse for 30 days. No selling, no lawsuits, no leaving early. If anyone breaks the rule, the farm is donated to the State Conservation Trust. Daniel stares at her like she's joking. Emily laughs once, but it's bitter. He knew he couldn't do it. Sarah's eyes fill again. "He set me up." Margaret closes the folder. then adds one final line, softer than the rest. Your father believed the farm wasn't the inheritance. You were. Outside, wind moves through the trees. The old oak in the yard sways slightly, and for a moment, Daniel swears the house feels like it's listening. The episode ends with Daniel standing on the porch at night, looking out at the dark field. 30 days, one house, 4 broken siblings, and a secret their father took to the grave, waiting beneath the oak tree. The first night under the same roof feels unnatural. The farmhouse has always creaked, but now every sound feels louder, like the house is reacting to their tension. The hallway clock ticks too sharply. Floorboards groan under even the lightest step. It's as if the walls remember the arguments from 12 years ago and are waiting for them to start again. Daniel wakes before sunrise out of habit. He steps onto the porch with a mug of coffee he didn't ask Sarah permission to use. The fields stretch out before him, pale gold under morning light. For a brief moment he feels 16 again, before college debt, before business failures, before pride made him leave without looking back. He hears the screen door creak behind him. Sarah, you don't know how to fix the south fence anymore, she says quietly. Daniel doesn't turn around. I remember enough. She folds her arms. It broke last month. Dad tried to fix it himself. The words hit differently. Tried. Daniel swallows. Why didn't you call us? Her laugh is hollow. You were busy. All of you. Inside, Emily is already on her laptop at the kitchen table, scanning the will documents for loopholes. She doesn't believe in emotional tests. She believes in legal structure. If there's a crack in their father's wording, she'll find it. Lucas walks in late, rubbing his temples. He looks worse than yesterday. He's jittery, distracted. When he opens the fridge, he stares at the nearly empty shelves, like he's calculating something far beyond groceries. Margaret's condition echoes in all of their heads. 30 days. No leaving. No selling. No legal action. If anyone walks away, the land goes to the state. Breakfast is quiet until Daniel finally says what everyone's thinking. So what's the plan? Sarah answers without hesitation. There is no plan. I'm not asking you to stay. Emily looks up. It's not about asking. If we leave, you lose everything. Sarah's voice tightens. It's already mine. Lucas mutters. Not until 30 days pass. And there it is, the unspoken truth. This isn't about grief anymore. It's about ownership. Later that afternoon, Daniel walks the perimeter of the farm. The south fence really is damaged, leaning and splintered. He kneels, runs his fingers across the broken wood, and feels something sharp under his palm. A nail, bent inward. It wasn't weather damage. It looks deliberate. He stands slowly, scanning the area. When he returns to the house, he finds Emily in their father's old study. Papers are spread across the desk. Tax returns, land deeds, handwritten notes. She doesn't look up when he enters. You ever think it's strange? She asks. What? That Dad added this condition so specifically. 30 days. Not 2 weeks. Not a year. Exactly 30. Daniel shrugs. Maybe he wanted us to suffer. Emily finally looks at him. No, Dad didn't think emotionally like that. He calculated everything. Lucas suddenly storms in from outside, face pale. There's someone out there, he says. They all freeze. What do you mean? Sarah asks. Truck by the edge of the property, parked near the tree line. Daniel grabs his jacket and heads outside. Sure enough, tire tracks cut across the dirt near the far boundary. The truck is gone now, but the tracks are fresh. Sarah's breathing grows uneven. We've had offers before, she says. Developers. They wanted the land. Emily's lawyer instincts kick in. If the will forces us to stay, someone might want us to fail. Daniel looks toward the old oak tree in the yard. Massive, rooted deep, unmoving. Their father used to sit beneath it for hours, saying nothing. Lucas breaks the silence. What if Dad knew something? That night, tension explodes. Daniel accuses Emily of already planning to contest the will after 30 days. Emily accuses Daniel of only staying because he's broke. Sarah snaps that none of them understand what it was like caring for their father, alone as his health declined. Lucas shouts back that she never told them how bad it was. Old wounds tear open fast. Words are thrown that can't be taken back. Finally, Sarah yells, "You all left me here with him." Silence follows. No one has an answer. Later, when the house is quiet again, Sarah steps outside alone. She walks to the oak tree and kneels near its roots. She brushes dirt away gently, revealing a small metal edge just barely visible under the soil. She hesitates, then covers it again. Inside, Daniel watches her through the window. He doesn't know what she's hiding, but he knows one thing. Their father didn't design this 30-day condition for forgiveness. He designed it for discovery. The episode ends with the camera slowly pulling back from the oak tree. As wind moves through its branches, 30 days suddenly feels like a countdown. And someone else is watching the farm. The third morning feels heavier than the first two. No one slept well. The farmhouse carries tension like humidity before a storm. Daniel wakes to the sound of raised voices drifting from the kitchen. He doesn't need to guess who it is. Emily and Sarah. You don't get to act like the victim, Emily says, her voice controlled but sharp. You stayed because you wanted to. Don't rewrite history. Sarah slams a cabinet door. I stayed because someone had to. He was sick, Emily, really sick. You never told us it was that bad. I tried. Daniel steps into the kitchen before it escalates further. Lucas sits at the table, staring at nothing, fingers tapping nervously against the wood. Enough, Daniel says. We're not even a week in. Emily folds her arms. Exactly. 27 days left, and we're already falling apart. The words hang in the air. 27 days. Later that afternoon, Daniel returns to the south fence with tools. He can't shake the feeling that the damage wasn't accidental. He pulls the broken planks aside and studies the posts more carefully. There are fresh saw marks. Clean. Precise. Someone cut this. He hears footsteps behind him. Lucas. You think it's them? Lucas asks quietly. Developers? Daniel shrugs. Or someone trying to scare us. Lucas kicks at the dirt. Maybe they don't want us to last 30 days. Daniel studies his brother. Lucas looks thinner than he should. His eyes flicker constantly, like he's calculating exits. You in trouble? Daniel asks suddenly. Lucas stiffens. What? You look like you're waiting for something. Lucas forces a laugh. You're paranoid. But Daniel isn't convinced. Back at the house, Emily continues digging through their father's study. She finds something unusual tucked inside an old ledger book. A folded envelope with no name on it. Inside is a handwritten note in their father's rough script. What's buried isn't money. It's truth. Only open it together. Emily's pulse quickens. Buried. She remembers Sarah kneeling by the oak tree last night. That evening, the tension shifts again. A truck engine hums faintly near the property line. This time, Daniel runs toward the sound immediately. He catches a glimpse of a dark pickup disappearing down the dirt road. But before it vanishes completely, he notices the company logo on the side. Carter Development Group. His stomach drops. That's impossible. Carter Development is the real estate firm Daniel tried to start years ago. The one that failed. He never told the family that after it collapsed, he sold partial rights to a larger development company. The same company that's been trying to buy this land. When he returns to the house, he says nothing. At dinner, emotions boil over again. Emily reveals the envelope she found. Dad hid something, she says, placing the note on the table. Sarah goes pale. You weren't supposed to find that yet, she whispers. Daniel narrows his eyes. You knew? Sarah's voice trembles. He told me there was something under the oak tree, but he said we could only dig if all four of us agreed. Lucas laughs bitterly. Of course he did. Even from the grave, he's forcing unity. Emily studies Sarah carefully. What else aren't you telling us? Sarah stands abruptly. Nothing. Daniel finally speaks, his voice low. The developers are back. All three siblings turn toward him. You saw them? Emily asks. He nods. Truck near the south fence. Company logo. Lucas swallows hard. They've been calling me. Silence crashes down. What? Sarah whispers. Lucas rubs his face. They offered money. Said if the farm goes to the state, they'll bid on it. Daniel's jaw tightens. And you didn't think to mention that? Lucas snaps back. I needed the money. There it is. The fracture widens. Sarah's eyes fill with tears again. You'd let it go? Lucas looks away. Later that night, as thunder rolls in the distance, Emily gathers them in the living room. If Dad buried something, she says firmly, we dig it up tomorrow. Sarah hesitates. He said together. Daniel nods. Then we do it together. Lucas exhales slowly. And if it's nothing? Emily's voice hardens. Then at least we'll know. Outside, lightning flashes briefly over the oak tree. Wind moves through its branches like a whisper. The episode ends with the four siblings standing at the window, staring at the massive tree silhouetted against the stormy sky. Buried beneath it is something their father believed mattered more than land. And by morning, they're going to uncover it, fade to black. Morning comes heavy and gray. The storm from the night before still lingering in the damp air. The ground beneath the oak tree is soft, darker than usual, as if the earth itself has been waiting. The four siblings stand in a loose circle around the massive trunk. No one speaks at first. Daniel grips the shovel tighter than necessary. Emily folds the note from their father and tucks it into her coat pocket. Lucas keeps glancing toward the road, half expecting another truck to appear. Sarah looks at the tree like it's a person she's about to betray. He made me promise not to dig alone, she says quietly. Daniel nods. We're all here. For a moment, it almost feels symbolic. 4 children under the same branches. They once climbed together. Then Daniel drives the shovel into the soil. The first few inches give easily. The sound of metal cutting into dirt fills the quiet morning. Lucas joins in. Then Emily. Even Sarah kneels to brush away loosened soil with her hands. 10 minutes pass, then 20. Daniel's shovel hits something solid. A dull metallic sound. They freeze. Carefully, they clear the dirt away, revealing the edge of a small, weathered metal box. It's not large, maybe the size of an old document case. Rust lines its edges, but it's sealed tightly. Lucas exhales. It better not be empty. Daniel lifts it out. It's heavier than it looks. Back inside the house, they place the box on the dining table. Mud drips onto the wood. No one rushes to open it. Finally, Emily breaks the seal with a kitchen knife. Inside are 3 items: a thick envelope, a smaller wooden box, and a stack of folded photographs. Daniel picks up the photos first. They're old, faded at the edges. Pictures of their father standing beside another man. Someone none of them recognize. The 2 are younger, smiling in a way they've never seen in real life. On the back of one photo is written, Tom and Michael, 1987. Sarah frowns. Who's Michael? Emily opens the envelope. Inside is a notarized document. She reads silently at first, then her face changes. What? Daniel demands. Emily swallows. This land. It wasn't fully Dad's. The room goes still. What do you mean? Sarah asks. There's a co-ownership clause from 1988, Emily continues. Dad legally shared ownership of this farm with someone named Michael Hayes. Lucas shakes his head. That's impossible. We would have known. No, Emily says softly. Not if it was never recorded publicly. Daniel grabs the document, scanning the details. It's legitimate. Signed, witnessed, filed privately, but legally binding. Why would he hide that? Lucas asks. Sarah looks like she's about to cry again. Maybe he didn't want us to fight over something that wasn't fully his. Emily picks up the smaller wooden box. Inside it is a ring. Simple, silver, worn smooth. And beneath it, a folded letter addressed to my children, when you're ready to understand. Daniel feels something shift in his chest. Emily opens the letter and begins reading aloud. I was not always the man you knew. Before your mother, before this farm became only mine in your eyes, there was Michael. He saved this land with me. He saved me. But fear and pride made me bury that truth. If you're reading this, you're together. That matters more than ownership. Silence consumes the room. Lucas whispers, saved you from what? Emily continues. The farm was almost taken in '87. Michael and I fought to keep it. Legally, half of it should have remained his. But when he left, I kept everything. I told myself I earned it. I told myself I needed to protect you from questions. Sarah's voice breaks. Left where? Daniel's jaw tightens. Or left how? Emily finishes the letter. If you wish to keep this farm, you must find Michael Hayes. Or his family. Do what I never did. Make it right. The air feels thinner. Lucas laughs softly, but it's not humor. So the 30 days, it's not about us. Emily shakes her head. It's about him. Daniel looks at the photographs again. The way their father smiled beside Michael. It's a version of him they never knew. Sarah whispers, Dad had a partner. Daniel says the word carefully. Or more than a partner. No one corrects him. Outside, the sound of an engine hums faintly in the distance again. The developers aren't the only complication anymore. Now there's a missing man, a hidden co-owner, and a legal claim that could dissolve everything. The episode ends with Daniel picking up the silver ring and turning it slowly in his hand. If half the farm legally belongs to someone else, then the inheritance was never secure to begin with. And the real question isn't who deserves the land. It's who their father really was. Fade to black. The farmhouse feels different after the letter. It's not just tension now, it's exposure. The image of their father has cracked wide open, and none of them know how to piece him back together. Daniel sits at the kitchen table before sunrise. The co-ownership document spread out in front of him. He's read it at least 6 times. The legal language is clear. Thomas Carter and Michael Hayes purchased the land together in 1988. Equal stake, equal responsibility. But Michael's name never appeared again. Emily joins him quietly, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. If this document was never filed publicly, she says, it could still be legally enforceable if there's proof of partnership. Daniel looks up. So half the farm might not be ours. Half the farm might never have been. Across the room, Sarah stands at the sink, staring out the window toward the oak tree. She hasn't spoken much since the letter was read. Lucas finally breaks the silence. So we're supposed to track down a man we've never heard of and offer him half the land? Emily shakes her head. Or his heirs, if he's not alive. Daniel leans back in his chair. Why would Dad hide this from us our whole lives? Sarah turns slowly. Because this town wouldn't have accepted it. They all look at her. Accepted what? Lucas asks. Sarah swallows. Look at the photos. The ring. The way he wrote about Michael. You really think that was just business? The implication hangs in the air. Emily exhales slowly. Dad was born in the '60s, in a rural town. If he loved someone the town wouldn't understand, he would have buried it. Daniel grips the edge of the table. So he erased him. Sarah nods, tears gathering again. And now he's asking us not to. The weight of it settles deep. Later that afternoon, Emily drives into town to check old property archives. Daniel insists on going with her. Lucas stays behind with Sarah, claiming he needs to make a call. In the town records office, the clerk recognizes the Carter name immediately. Tom Carter? She says softly. Hard worker. Quiet man. Emily requests any archive transactions involving Michael Hayes. The clerk hesitates, then disappears into a back room. When she returns, she's holding a thin file. Hayes left town in '89, she says carefully. Suddenly. Left how? Daniel asks. The clerk lowers her voice. There were rumors, disagreements, money trouble. Some folks said Tom bought him out. Others said Michael just vanished. Emily's heart pounds. Vanished? The clerk shrugs. Small towns remember everything, except what they don't want to. Meanwhile, back at the farmhouse, Lucas steps outside with his phone. His hands shake as he answers. I told you I'd think about it, he mutters into the receiver. A deep voice responds through the speaker. Time's running out. If the Conservation Trust gets it, we'll bid. But if you convince them to leave before 30 days, we can make sure you walk away comfortable. Lucas looks toward the house. Just give me time, he whispers. Inside, Sarah notices him pacing outside and watches through the curtain. She doesn't hear the conversation, but she sees the guilt on his face. That evening, Emily and Daniel return with copies of old documents. Among them is a faded newspaper clipping from 1989. Headline, Local Farmer Injured in Dispute. The article mentions Thomas Carter and Michael Hayes in a private disagreement that resulted in Michael leaving town shortly after. No police report, no follow-up, just silence. Daniel looks at Sarah. Did Dad ever mention a fight? She shakes her head. He barely mentioned anything from before Mom. Lucas reads the article, his face pale. What if he didn't just leave? Lucas says quietly. The idea chills the room. Emily closes the folder. We don't jump to conclusions. Daniel looks toward the oak tree through the window again. Dad said make it right, he murmurs. That doesn't sound like a clean goodbye. Outside, the wind moves through the fields, bending tall grass in long waves. The episode ends with Sarah walking alone to the oak tree once more. She touches the trunk gently, like it might answer her. In the distance, headlights pause at the edge of the property again before turning off. Someone is waiting, and the truth about Michael Hayes may not just threaten the inheritance. It may threaten everything they thought they knew about their father. Fade to black. The tension inside the farmhouse is no longer subtle. It's visible. It sits at the dinner table. It sleeps in the hallway. It lingers in every unfinished sentence. 20 days remain. Daniel hasn't stopped thinking about the newspaper clipping. The phrase private disagreement replays in his head like a warning. In a small town, that usually means one of two things. Something shameful, or something dangerous. Emily spends the morning making calls to nearby counties, searching for any record of Michael Hayes after 1989. Nothing concrete appears. No property purchases, no voter registration, no death certificate. It's as if he disappeared. Sarah sits in their father's old bedroom, holding the silver ring from the wooden box. It's simple, worn down from years of use. She tries to imagine her father young, smiling the way he did in the photographs, beside Michael. It doesn't match the quiet, hardened man she grew up with. Lucas paces the porch. His phone buzzes again. Same number. He doesn't answer, but he knows he can't ignore it forever. Later that afternoon, Daniel drives into town alone. He stops at the local diner, the kind of place that remembers faces for decades. He orders coffee and casually asks the elderly waitress if she remembers Michael Hayes. Her expression shifts immediately. People don't ask about him, she says. Why? Daniel presses. She wipes down the counter slowly. Because he left angry, and folks here don't like unfinished stories. Daniel leans closer. Did he leave on his own? The waitress lowers her voice. There was a fight out near the Carter property. I wasn't there, but I heard shouting. Saw Michael the next day with a bruised face. Daniel's pulse quickens. And then he was gone. Back at the farmhouse, Emily makes a breakthrough. A distant county archive finally produces a trace, a hospital record from Tennessee, dated 1990. Patient name, Michael Hayes. Admitted for head trauma. Discharged after 3 days. No emergency contact listed. No follow-up. She stares at the screen. Head trauma. She calls Daniel immediately. When he returns home and hears the news, the air shifts again. Lucas, unusually quiet, mutters, "What if Dad heard him?" Sarah flinches. No. Emily's voice is steady but strained. The article said there was a dispute. The hospital record says head trauma. The timeline matches. Daniel feels anger rising. Not at Michael. Not even at the possibility of violence. but at the secrecy. Why didn't he tell us? Daniel says. Why bury it? Sarah looks at him with something close to desperation. Because people here wouldn't have forgiven him. The room grows still. Forgiven him for what? Lucas asks. Sarah whispers the thought none of them want to say aloud. For loving the wrong person. Silence stretches long. In a town like this, decades ago, two men owning land together might have raised more than eyebrows. It could have destroyed reputations, businesses, families. Emily finally speaks. What if the fight wasn't about money? Daniel nods slowly. What if it was about being exposed? Outside, the sound of gravel crunching pulls their attention toward the driveway. A black SUV rolls up slowly and stops near the porch. Daniel steps outside immediately. A well-dressed man exits the vehicle. Mr. Carter, he says politely. Name's Grant Holloway, representing Southeastern Development. Daniel's jaw tightens. You've been trespassing. Holloway smiles thinly. Only observing. Word is your inheritance has complications. Daniel says nothing. Holloway continues. If legal disputes arise regarding ownership, the land may become unstable. We're prepared to make generous offers before that happens. Daniel steps closer. We're not selling. Holloway's smile fades slightly. 30 days is a long time. Families don't usually last that long under pressure. Inside the house, Lucas watches through the window. Guilt written across his face. Holloway gets back into the SUV and drives off. Daniel re-enters the house. They know, he says simply. Emily nods. Then we move faster. That night, as rain begins again, Sarah walks to the oak tree alone. This time she doesn't kneel. She looks up into the branches and whispers, What really happened, Dad? The camera slowly pulls back. Inside the house, Lucas opens his phone and types a message. We need to talk. He hesitates, then sends it. The episode ends with the message delivered to an unknown contact. And in a distant city, a man receives it. Fade to black. 19 days remain. The farmhouse feels like it's balancing on the edge of something irreversible. Lucas hasn't slept. After sending the message the night before, he keeps checking his phone like he's waiting for a verdict. Daniel notices the tension in him but says nothing. Yet. Morning breaks quietly until Lucas's phone buzzes. A reply. He steps outside before reading it. 3 words. I'm still alive. Lucas feels his chest tighten. He types back quickly. Michael Hayes? The response comes slower this time. Yes, who is this? Lucas stares at the name on the screen like it might disappear. He walks back inside. We found him, he says, voice barely steady. The room freezes. Emily stands first. You what? Lucas swallows. He's alive, Tennessee. Sarah grips the back of a chair to steady herself. Daniel steps closer. How did you even… Lucas interrupts. I reached out through a property law forum. I didn't say much. Just asked if anyone knew a Michael Hayes connected to Georgia farmland. Emily's eyes narrow slightly. You've been working on this without telling us. Lucas doesn't deny it. I needed to fix something, he mutters. Daniel studies him carefully but doesn't push. Not yet. Emily takes the phone and types a message carefully. We are Thomas Carter's children. There's a long pause. Then, after all this time, Sarah's hands start shaking. Another message appears. I thought he buried me. The weight of those words sinks in. Emily types again. He didn't. He buried the truth. Minutes pass. Then the phone rings. None of them move at first. Finally, Daniel answers and puts it on speaker. A man's voice fills the kitchen. Older, slower, but steady. I never thought I'd hear from that house again. Sarah speaks softly. Are you Michael? Yes. Silence hangs thick before Daniel forces himself to ask the question. What happened in 1989? A long exhale comes through the speaker. Your father and I bought that land together. We built it from nothing. We planned to expand. But word got around about us. The siblings glance at one another. Michael continues. This town wasn't kind to men like us back then. Investors pulled out. Neighbors whispered. Your father panicked. Emily's voice tightens. Did he hurt you? Another pause. We fought, Michael admits. But not the way you think. I wanted to leave. He wanted to pretend nothing existed between us. I told him I wouldn't hide. And the head injury? Daniel asks. Michael sighs. I slipped during the argument. Hit my head on the fence post. It wasn't intentional, but it scared him. He thought if people found out, everything would collapse. Sarah closes her eyes. He asked me to leave town. Said it was the only way to protect the farm. Protect you kids. Lucas whispers. So you left? Yes, Michael says simply. I thought he'd sell and come find me. He never did. The kitchen feels smaller suddenly. Daniel speaks carefully. He left you half the farm. In writing. There's silence on the line. What? He said we need to make it right, Sarah says, tears sliding down her cheeks. Michael's voice softens. Your father loved you. He just didn't know how to love anyone without fear. Emily swallows. Will you come here? Another pause. I don't know if that town would welcome me, Daniel answers firmly. It doesn't matter what the town wants. After the call ends, the siblings sit in silence. The story isn't violent. It's worse. It's regret. Lucas finally speaks, his voice cracking. The developers offered me money to push us to fail. All three heads snap toward him. You what? Daniel says. Lucas doesn't look up. They said if one of us leaves before 30 days. The Conservation Trust takes the land. They're ready to buy it from the trust. Emily's anger is immediate. You were going to sabotage this? I was drowning. Lucas shouts back. I owe money. A lot of it. Sarah looks betrayed. Daniel's jaw tightens. You were going to sell us out? Lucas shakes his head violently. No, I didn't know what to do. Silence settles again. Emily finally speaks, calmer now. We don't fall apart. That's what they want. Daniel nods slowly. We finish the 30 days. Then we bring Michael here. Sarah wipes her tears. And we tell the truth. Outside, the black SUV is parked again at the edge of the property. Watching. Waiting. The episode ends with Daniel stepping onto the porch and staring directly toward the distant vehicle. This isn't just about inheritance anymore. It's about reclaiming a story that was stolen by fear. Fade to black. 14 days remain. The farmhouse no longer feels like a battleground. It feels like a decision waiting to be made. After the call with Michael Hayes, something shifted between the siblings. The anger is still there. The hurt hasn't vanished. But now it has context. Their father wasn't a villain. He was a man who chose fear over courage and spent the rest of his life carrying that choice. Emily handles the legal side first. She drafts a temporary agreement recognizing Michael's original co-ownership. It won't transfer anything yet, but it acknowledges his stake in writing. For the first time, she says quietly, we're not pretending. Daniel spends his days repairing the south fence properly this time. Not hiding the damage, not ignoring it, fixing it. Lucas makes a different kind of repair. He calls the development representative, Grant Holloway. We're not selling, Lucas says firmly. Not now. Not ever. Holloway's tone cools instantly. Families crack, Mr. Carter. They always do. Lucas looks toward the house, where his siblings are visible through the window. Not this time. He ends the call before his voice can shake. 2 days later, Michael arrives. A modest sedan pulls into the driveway just after sunset. The same oak tree stands tall behind the house, its branches glowing in golden light. Michael steps out slowly. He's older now, silver hair, careful posture, but his eyes are clear. When he looks at the farmhouse, there's something in them that none of the siblings expected. Grief. Daniel walks forward first. They don't hug. They don't know how. You built this with him? Daniel asks. Michael nods. From the ground up. Sarah steps closer. He kept your ring. Michael's breath catches slightly. Inside the house, they sit at the same dining table where the metal box was opened. The silver ring rests in the center. Michael touches it gently. He was afraid, Michael says, but he loved deeply, even when he didn't show it. Emily slides the agreement toward him. He left instructions. We want to honor them. Michael reads silently. I don't want half the farm, he says finally. All 4 siblings look stunned. It's yours, Sarah insists. Michael shakes his head. It was ours, once, but I built my life somewhere else. What I want is acknowledgement. Daniel understands before anyone else does. You want the truth told. Michael nods. The next morning, word spreads quickly through town. A small gathering forms near the farmhouse fence. Curious neighbors, cautious whispers. Daniel steps forward first, then Emily, then Lucas, then Sarah. And beside them, Michael Hayes. Emily speaks clearly. This farm was built by 2 men. Not one. Our father made mistakes. We are choosing not to repeat them. There's murmuring. Some uncomfortable. Some supportive. But something remarkable happens. No one walks away. Later that afternoon, Margaret Hill returns with updated paperwork. A new structure is created. The land remains in the Carter family name. But a permanent trust is established in Michael Hayes' name, funding local agricultural scholarships and preserving the land from development permanently. Grant Holloway's black SUV does not return. That night, the 5 of them sit beneath the oak tree together. The air is warm, quiet, honest. Daniel finally asks the question he's been carrying. Did he ever regret asking you to leave? Michael looks up into the branches. Every day, he says softly. But pride is heavy, and time moves faster than courage. Sarah reaches over and places the silver ring in Michael's hand. You don't have to leave this time. Michael's eyes fill, but he smiles. Inside the farmhouse, the tension that once filled every room feels lighter now. Not gone, but healed in places that matter. As the 30-day mark approaches, the siblings no longer count down to escape. They count down to rebuilding. The final scene shows the farmhouse at sunrise. The oak tree stands steady. Daniel repairs a gate. Emily makes calls about the scholarship trust. Lucas works beside Sarah in the field. Michael watches from the porch. The inheritance was never the land. It was the courage to tell the truth. Fade out, Season 1 end.